Hello, my name is Damon Friedman, co-founder and president of SOF Missions. As a 20-year veteran within Special Operations, I've gone through many challenges due to my military service and time in combat. We felt called to start SOF Missions to serve our fellow brothers and sisters in arms, focusing on suicide prevention and resiliency. Our mission at SOF Missions is to empower warriors to find purpose and be resilient. Since 2011, when we started the organization, almost 3 million men and women have deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Unfortunately, the scars of war take a toll on their psychological, physical, social, and spiritual health. Many veterans feel a sense of hopelessness and a loss of purpose when they return to civilian life. They feel isolated and alone, unable to reconnect. And in the greatest of tragedies, over 20 veterans lose all hope and take their own lives. Our goal at SOF Missions is to provide veterans the tools and resources so that they don't become a statistic. We offer a unique approach to combating veteran suicide through a whole health, intradisciplinary model. The Be Resilient program is a 4-pillar methodology that addresses the areas of psychological, physical, social, and spiritual wellness. We provide care through 3 delivery methods: medical clinics, retreats, and educational training. Since we started back in 2011, we have been able to reach veterans in all 50 states and have served over 3,000 veterans through the Be Resilient program. Being resilient is a multifaceted and complex issue. We know that to find a lasting solution, we have to address the whole warrior. Many challenges cannot be solved by providing the treatments and modalities of just one component, but by tackling them all. Now, we've expanded our services to include law enforcement and first responders. Together, we can make a lasting impact in the lives of warriors across the nation. To learn more, visit our website at sofmissions.org.
Proceed to your post assignment. All units proceed to your post assignment.
All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation. The Misfit Nation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience need to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, Stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
Yeah, it's Tuesday. Before we get started, 2 more bits of somber news. Detention Officer Francisco Paul Flatts, Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, North Carolina. End of watch, June 30th, 2025. Deputy Sheriff Devin Mason Darlington County Sheriff's Office, South Carolina. End of watch July 1st, 2025. Let's keep their friends, their families, their communities in your thoughts and prayers as they go through this tough time in dealing with this sudden loss. Let's pause. Because it's time! Happy Bobby Bonilla Day to Mets fans. Only 10 more years of paying $1.9 million to Bobby. The boys are back and ready to rumble. They are scared. And they have scaled the highest peaks. They've tried exotic foods. They love to bring the energy and put you in a good mood. But always remember, chicken math is real. Cagney and Lacey are buttoning up their fire suits and need you to reach up behind your head and pull down those shoulder straps and make sure you're locked in, because it is time for Jake. It is time for Steve. Bring it, boys.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Good evening. How's
He
your
gets
week
a little
going?
bit more excited every time he does that. I love it.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. How's your week going, Stephen?
It's going very well. How about yours?
Mine's going great because neither Hamlin nor Logano won on Saturday.
Yeah. And they were both taken out nicely in that 23 car wreck there.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were.
That folded up half the field, and I was like, yes! Well, except for Briscoe. I wanted Briscoe to cruise through, but no, you know.
Yeah, he couldn't make it. He couldn't make it. And I have spent this week without Mrs. Holland. I am anxiously awaiting for her to get home. She's on the road right now.
That's good.
Making her way back up here. And so soon after the show, she should be to the house.
Right on.
And I start, not vacation, but I start PTO tomorrow heading to Oklahoma. So
She gets home and you pack and go.
do what?
She's getting home and you're packing and going.
Oh yeah, she's gonna get home. We're gonna get a few more things done around here. Then we're gonna pack up and we're gonna go to Oklahoma for the 4th and get more chickens. So
Get more chickens, so I get more videos of you taking care of chickens.
that's right. That's right. Hey, Stephen, we got a great guest this evening. Heather Shreve. She's an award-winning screenwriter. She's a historian, author, designer, and a master artist. And she just, I was looking through some of her books and stuff, and I've already went through and I'm starting to put stuff on my wish list. Of course, that has to be approved by Mrs. Holland, but I'm sure that she will approve them. But what I found amazing is her family history and unbroken service in the U.S. Army since 1775. That right there is, to me, that
It's amazing.
it's amazing that she has such a deep, rich family history in that, and it's amazing. She had a new book come out on the Army's birthday. I'm gonna let her go into that, but just, you know, if you haven't got on there, you know, we'll post her links and stuff. You get in there, look at her books, because I'm just by glancing through them, they promise to be some very amazing stories. So without any further ado, let's get Heather in here.
Good evening, Heather.
Good evening. How are you?
We
Good.
are
Welcome to the show. She's like, wow, he just built me up big there.
That was a pretty good introduction there, Jake. That was pretty good.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
That's pretty good.
I hope the producers listen to this.
She was smiling so big she had to take her glasses off to get that smile out. I'm like,
We
damn.
have to see the eyes sometimes, you know. No, that was great. And it's you'll even be more amazed because it's not just one or two people in each generation in each war, but multiple people, multiple brothers in each war. It's crazy.
Well, we're looking forward to hearing those stories. And I didn't give much of your bio. I gave about the nickel version of it. If you want to give us the other 95 cents, and you just start whenever you want to start, and
Well,
how we got here.
I'll just go back about 7 or 8 years. I won't bore you with the whole thing.
Okay.
So, now,
Back in 1903.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm supposed to be a story designer, so we're going to shrink it down.
Okay.
No, I actually lost my art business in 2008, but I became a personal trainer. But as I was doing that, I was writing in the background, and I had a job as a technical writer at McCormick, working on their theory of operation. But after my mother died, I went all in with the writing and started doing the screenplays. My grandfather's story, I turned into a movie, 2 TV series I've been writing. And then, of course, my personal story of Africa is one of my films. Meanwhile, I've been writing books all this time. And my first book came out in 2013, which was Caught on the Equator, because I was put in jail in East Africa in 1983. I got caught up in the illegal ivory trade as sort of I got picked up by off the grid police and was almost basically kidnapped and put in jail, and it was a real dicey situation getting out of the country. So that was my first book.
I'm sure. What now was that? You were trying to expose the ivory trade?
No. I bought a piece of, I thought it was bone from the Maasai when we first got there in Nairobi. And I'm pretty sure I was targeted from the beginning because, white, blonde woman, it's not hard to miss. But 3.5 weeks later on the Indian Ocean, I was picked up by corrupt police, and basically fallout from the illegal government at the time, President Moy. I mean, he was even involved in the illegal trade, using his own plane to airlift ivory to China. It's a whole story. Long story short, though, just barely got out of the country. And the only reason I got out of the country is because my guide and the scientist I was with paid the police and the magistrates off under the table. That was the only reason I got out.
And really, a lot of time, that's all they want.
Of course, I was being extorted for money. That was the only thing they really wanted.
Yes.
And the ivory bracelet, which was worth $300 back then. So.
And well, now I'm going to have to add that book to my wish list because that's. But to your point of, so basically just paying myself first in the background, always working on my craft of writing. And I get up every day at 5:30 and write for 3 or 4 hours. And fast forward, here we are. And I retired one of my other novels, and I'm bringing out this trilogy, which recounts my grandfather's and grandmother's amazing career in the U.S. Army across 3 wars. The first book is here, The Long Blue Shadow, which is in the Gatsby 1920s and 30s. I'm already writing book 2, and then there's book 3. So, but in the screenwriting area, one of my TV series, which they're all very original, they're high concept and always based on a real world. The Bamboo Wife, which is about the Japanese in Hawaii in the 20s and all of the spying that was going on at the time between the Japanese and the Americans. That actually got looked at by PBS Masterpiece a couple years ago. And so at that level, that's kind of where I've landed right now. And just, trying to make my way to the right folks to sell the things, really. Okay. And the premise of that book is
it's the TV series. It's called The Bamboo Right. There's no book. It's just
okay.
This is just a TV series I created from scratch. Yeah.
Okay. But the premise of that is she's basically working for the Japanese.
She is.
Correct. Okay.
You must have read something.
I did. Yeah. I did.
So, anyway, but my grandfather's story is so inspirational, and we can get into that later or not. But he actually served in 4 wars. He flew in France he ended up being trained as a combat pilot in 1917, but ended up flying DH-4 de Havilland's from the middle of France to the Western Front for the last 10 weeks of war during the Meuse-Argonne push. Yeah, and he made it. the average life of a pilot, I was just telling this to somebody the other day, was 50 hours, even if you weren't in combat, but still, he's flying DH-4s to the front, he's going to run into people.
Matter of fact, I just read a book about World War I pilots, and
crazy.
Some of the stuff they had to go through.
As I say in the book, no parachutes and no promises.
Yeah.
Well, consider what they're flying today. They're basically flying paper airplanes back then.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
as I say, held together with canvas, bubble gum, and string. I mean,
yes. And
they could be shot, and they would just repair them, put them back in the air the next day. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, before we get into his story, because his story when he was captured by the Japanese as chief of artillery in the Second Corps is amazing. But just to go back and just recap on the family history a little bit. So my most direct ancestor, according to the Society of Cincinnati, is a Lieutenant Clement Holliday in the 5th Maryland Line in the Revolutionary War. But my direct descendant is Colonel Tench Tillman, who was Washington's aide de camp and one of his most famous aides because he took the news to Philadelphia that Cornwallis had surrendered.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's that. And then I have two other not direct descendants, but descendants. So Colonel Israel Shreve was known as the Fighting Quaker. He was in Western Pennsylvania, but he was best friends with George Washington and actually bought 5 pieces of property from George and settled in Western Pennsylvania called Washington Bottoms. Israel, just like in The Patriot, grabbed his youngest son of 13, John Shreve, and ran off with nothing more than a sidearm and a skinning knife, and followed George Washington through the entire Revolutionary War.
Wow.
And had 2 horses shot out from under him during that time. And Israel and George Washington, just like John Adams and Jefferson, died on the same day, December 14th, 1799. One of Israel's sons is also a famous pioneer, Henry Shreve, who navigated the Mississippi, who I did a TV show, written a TV series about. Henry Shreve navigated the Mississippi, and of course, Shreveport is named for him. But he was roped into the War of 1812 with Andrew Jackson. He was asked by Andrew Jackson to get some munitions across the lower Mississippi to the other side. And Henry, being the crafty person he was, he piled up cotton bales all on this, I guess it was a steamship at the time, some kind of steamship, piled up all these cotton bales and made it across the water without, the getting shot too badly.
Okay.
So that's the War of 1812. And then then I have direct aunt, my great grandfather, Thomas Jefferson Shreve, fought in the Civil War for the South. And his brother, Benjamin Franklin Shreve, fought for the North. And Thomas was actually part of Mosby's Raiders, the famous Gray Ghost. They would steal horses off the Union line. He got caught and put in the Fort Delaware brig. And they thought he was going to die because he had tuberculosis. So they just let him out to wander. And he wandered into Maryland from Delaware and met my great-great-grandmother, Rosalie Tillman Shreve. So they got married, and that's how that happened. And then fast forward to about World War I and then World War II, and then my grandfather was chief of the Maryland Military District during the Korean War, and my dad was also in the Army during the Korean War. So,
all right, that is a rich military, and it wasn't like they you talk about,
and there's more. That's just the ones I know about. I mean, they're
yeah, but you talk about a personal friend of George Washington, Shreveport named after it. That's that's some amazing family history. That's
yes. Yeah.
My family might have a bar somewhere named after him.
It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right. not that it's military related exactly, but it's just crazy how in that whole revolutionary, beginnings and whatnot, since the Shreves have been here so long. I'm also related to Wallace Warfield Simpson, who she married Prince Edward. One of my grandfather's brother married a Warfield, so I'm related to that, into that branch here in Howard County. That's kind of a big deal. There's a lot of Warfields here. I don't know. There was a Governor Warfield.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's just, yeah. Now you've got me wanting to get on a genealogy website.
Yes. Well, you know what the best thing to do, and it's free to people who can just hop on for a week, is newspapers.com, which is tied to Ancestry, but I do all my research. I mean, all you have to do is type in and look at things from newspapers, and there's 1,000,001 stories, and you might be able to find your ancestors who are in the newspaper.
Okay, I can do that. And I got a friend that runs the county genealogical society. I might just give her some names and say, run with it.
That too. And obviously in the military, I mean, I got my grandfather's records from NARA. Employ your congressman to get them quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. He has a 1,200 page Army record, and his brothers burned in the NARA fire, and then Arthur's did not, but 1,200 pages. It's taken me a couple of years to read through that.
Oh yeah. That's a lot to read through, especially if it's written in militaryese.
Well, it's not so much that. It's just I haven't researched the whole thing, but I had to research it for Once a Colonel, the film, which is he was captured by, he went in as a quartermaster and he was made chief of artillery by General Parker. He was on American command. He ended up being serving under Wainwright in the early days of the war. But he actually predicted the landing at Antimonan. And the reason I know all this, too, is because he kept secret diaries hidden from the Japanese for 4 years, which became evidence in the international war crimes trials. But anyway, so I'll just give you the quick Reader's Digest version. But he, after he was captured, because he was on American command, he was offered a secret intel operation out of Washington. But instead of using it for intel, he insisted they use it for humanitarian purposes, and he smuggled in his Howard County checkbook from Maryland and started writing checks in the underground with the Filipinos' assistance to get food for his men for the next 4 years. He also, when the fall of Bataan first started and he was on American command, he was driven to O'Donnell, and when he got to Camp O'Donnell, he insisted, even though officers are not supposed to work under the Geneva Convention violation rules, he was like, forget that. He was a Mustang, by the way, so he threw the rule book out. Forget that. So he fixed the water situation. He fixed the water situation. There was only one spigot for 12,000 American POWs and 65,000 Filipinos. He insisted they fix that. And then he volunteered to billet and triage all 75,000 death marchers, which he did. And it took him 2.5 weeks to do it.
Wow.
So that was just the beginning.
Yeah.
So all this time, I mean, this guy was so mentally tough. I mean, he survived 3 hell ships, 2 which sank, bombed by the U.S. Navy, not knowing there was POWs on board. And, he, out of the 12,000, only 350 men were rescued from Jinsan, Korea in September 1945, and he was one of them.
Okay. Man.
Well, I mean, that's only 3%, in case you can't do the math on that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not many.
No, not at all. It's terrible. But he was able to do, I mean, that man just kept working to save people. When the Uraiku Moro sank, was bombed, he jumped off the ship. It was 5 stories up into the water, and he swam to shore, and then he saw that men were still trapped on the ship. So he swam back. And he says in in his diary that he grabbed a piece of hatch cover that was floating Hawaiian style because one of his first assignments was Oahu for the first 5 years of his military service after the war, in the First World War. Anyway, long story short, the man only weighed 98 pounds at the time, but he was still working for other people. And when they left Cabanatuan, he was the guy. He wrote a check for the last 500 that the U.S. Army Rangers came back to get in February. And at that moment, the last 1,600 POWs, he was a senior officer for the next 10 months.
Wow. And, you know, just to, there's probably families out there now that the only reason that they are still existing is because of the help that your
as I told somebody the other day in the Air Force, you know, they lost a lot of men, but if it wasn't for Arthur, they would have lost them all.
Yeah.
Right. You okay, Jay?
Yeah,
He's just thinking.
I was weed eating all day today, and I just got a
grassy
little bit of head stuff going on here. Let's talk about that new book that you released on June 14th.
Yeah, sure. So it's part of a trilogy, and the trilogy is really illuminating the legacy of service. And the first book is called The Long Blue Shadow, and it just sets up, you know, what Blue Star families go through. And that is, you know, they're always, you know, the mill spouses, that's a big voice I wanted to amplify. But really, Blue Star families go through a whole set of different things that nobody really knows about. And, you know, they're always being torn between public service and private life. You know, they've got to find their identity within the military as they serve, and you know, their romance, and there's always these separation issues. I mean, when you read how much time, I mean, my grandfather was doing great things for American history at the time, but I mean, there was a lot of days and weeks and months where Julia Shreve was left alone. You know, and it's just, it's a lot of, there's a lot of gaps in there. And you just have to wonder how they even did it, you know, back then without, you know, the kind of cell service and internet we have now.
Yeah, I would hate to think, you know, what my wife would have had to go through if she didn't.
It's like starting all over again everywhere you go. I mean,
yes.
It's crazy, you know, just the ripping and tearing of friendships. And I don't know. It's just, I mean, I've written about it so much. I feel like I've had a sneak preview into it, but it's just gut wrenching at times.
Now, how many years total did your grandfather serve?
1917 until 1954 in the Army. And then he went into civil service defense here during the Cold War. And he was Director of Civil Defense for Baltimore City, designing evacuation plans until 1961.
Wow.
So 1917 to 1961.
Wow. That is a lot of service to the country. Yeah, that's amazing. We've got a question here from.
Oh, okay.
From.
At Hiram FR.
Yeah, your family's military lineage dates back to 1775. How has that shaped your approach to storytelling?
Well, that's an excellent question. It's completely compelled me to tell the stories. I mean, I can't not tell the stories because there's like Henry Shreve, so amazing. Can't not tell his story. My grandfather's story. Well, I used to be a personal trainer, and I've written books about behavioral health, but really we all need this IV drip of inspiration and markers and heroes, because we all have that heroic impulse within us all. And we just need to see how other people do it, you know, and have that inspiration constantly coming in, you know, as markers, you know?
Yes. Okay. All right. And of questions keep rolling in. You got another one?
This one's from at Ice Cream Dream 1. What inspired
Yeah.
The Long Blue Shadow,
Yes.
and why did you choose to release it on the Army's 250th birthday? Thank
Well,
you,
like
Ice
I
Cream
that's a great question. Thank you. As I said before, this is a story that recounts my grandfather's service in the U.S. Army, so it made sense to release it on the Army's birthday. And this is the first leg of his journey. So when he comes back from World War I, 1920, and goes to 1940. So that the inspiration was just his career, period, end of story.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, very good answer.
Straight and to the point, just the way we like it.
Yes.
Well, good.
Yes.
We try to keep it short.
I was going through, I went through your website, was looking through all the stuff, and I'm really anxious to find out, where I can see Riverman.
Well, it's not been sold yet. Too bad. So, yeah,
okay.
Can't see it anywhere yet. I'm anxious too to see it.
It's on paper.
It's on paper. I have
Yeah.
episodes on paper, but no, unfortunately, Hollywood that's a whole nother story, but it's a tough nut to crack. And I was just at the American Film Market in Las Vegas in November trying to make connections, but I'm telling you, and the world's changing so fast that that's a whole nother chapter.
I kind of want to see that one because I took a break when I got out of the Army before I got into teaching students for the Army. I took a break and worked on the river for a couple of years on a towboat, and those kind of stories. I really like those kind of stories.
Can I tell you one quick story about Henry?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. That's why we're here.
Henry's such an amazing character. I'm telling you. So I forget what year, because I think it's 1807. Yeah, anyway, I think so. At this point, he's been building boats for a little while, and he wants to go up to the upper parts of the Mississippi into the Missouri and start like a beaver trade route, right? So he's doing that, and then he does that, and then I think 1811 he decides he's going to take it up a notch, and he wants to trade lead with the Sac and Fox Indians up on the Galena River, which is now I think the Fever River, or vice versa. Anyway, so he's making this huge trek up, the river here, and he's taking this one huge flatboat because he wants to trade lead. He knows it's going to be a lot of lead. It's going to be heavy. And he's taking all these trinkets with him, pots and pans and all this stuff to trade with the Sac and Fox Indians. So he gets up there, and the Sac and Fox Indians don't want to have one thing to do with Henry Shreve. Like, they don't want any of his trinkets. They don't want to trade with him. We don't have any lead, they say. We don't have any lead. We can't, no. But as the days go by, he hunts and fishes around at the river edge, and they're starting to get to warm up to him a little bit. And then they invite him in to have a meal, and then they start playing these games, and then they start playing these running games. Well, Henry Shreve wins every running game with these Indians. So now they're kind of liking Henry Shreve. He's okay now. And before you know it, one morning he wakes up and they've just brought out all this lead that they've been hiding in the there was so much lead that he had to build 2 more flatboats. It was 60 tons of lead.
Wow.
60 tons of lead. So he builds these 2 other keel boats, these flatboats, and and goes down the river. Well, he gets down to the lower part of the Mississippi, New Orleans, and he's got all this heavy lead. So he's got to commandeer a tall ship, right, to get it to Philadelphia. So he commandeers this tall ship. He gets through Barataria, where all the pirates are. The Lafitte's are hanging out down there. He gets through all that, gets it around to Philadelphia and sells it for back then an $11,000 profit. But a third of that lead went to feed went to the War of 1812 for the musket balls.
Yes, I would imagine it did.
Yeah. But I mean, it just cracks me up, that he could run with the Indians. So that was the whole tipping point,
Well, yeah, he kind of bested them at their own game, showed them that he could
Yeah.
hang, and they're like, okay, maybe he ain't so
He's
bad.
okay. He's okay. we like him now. He's all right. But that's his kind of persistence. That kind of persistence is what, he designed that snag boat that cleared the Red River into Texas. That was his invention. He went head to head with the Fulton Steam Company and all of that. He got arrested once because they were overtaking the southern part of Mississippi and they wouldn't let him pass and this and that. The trade routes were cut off. And he was like, we're not having none of this. It's, as far as Congress is concerned, the riverways are open.
Yes, they are.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, he has an amazing bunch of stories.
All right, we got another question from them.
Alrighty.
SFL No Tap 45 wants to know, how do you balance historical accuracy with emotional
resonance in both
resonance
yes,
in both your screenplays and novels?
Excellent question. Well, here's the easy answer, and I teach this too in story design. The human story always comes first, always. So human interaction, the dialogue, the character arc, all that comes first. And then the world is the background. And the world can be super accurate. My worlds are super accurate. As met in Long Blue Shadow, because I have my grandfather's efficiency reports every 4 months for 30 some years. I can see even his reporting officers and every job he ever did. So it's super accurate, but it doesn't dominate the story. It doesn't dominate the human interactions. Same with screenplays. Yeah.
Okay. Good answer. I hope that answered your question. And you talking about your family and all the military history and stuff. And I just got to thinking, I read a book series many years ago, and that was very, very interesting. And it kind of reminds me of your family history. And the series was The Bastard. I don't know if you've ever.
Well, I think I've heard of that.
Written by, I think, John Jakes or somebody like that. Mm-hmm. But it follows a family from pre-revolutionary time all the way up to the settling of the Western United States. It's pretty cool. And there were some interesting characters in that book. But that sounds a lot like your family. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, so if anybody wants the diaries as they were written, hidden by the Japanese, I put it into a book back in 2014, The Colonel's Way, and I put in the pretext and the afterwards, so they know what happens after. But it's a blow by blow of the fall of Bataan.
Okay. And then you've also got a collection of works, The Pin, The Pearl, The Paragraph, and
just kind of a minor little book. I may just take that down. But honestly, the Caught on the Equator book, people, if you look on Amazon, it's because it's been up there the longest, but people love that book. To me, it's just it's a memoir, so it's written in kind of a creative nonfiction, but I like it. I don't consider it, the pièce de résistance. You know what I mean?
But it's a true story, and it's actually it can also be, hey, if you ever go to East Africa,
don't touch anything.
This could be you.
Don't touch anything white. Okay, no bone rings. No bone anything, because you never know. You can't tell except under a microscope what it is.
And because like when I was in Ethiopia, they were selling ivory everywhere.
Were they?
Oh yeah, everywhere. And it was like, you could buy, and it was cheap.
Yes, cheap. Mm-hmm.
I ended up just buying gold because it was pretty. You could get it at a pretty good price too. And it's
cheap,
safe.
Yes.
And it was safe.
Yes. In Mombasa, which is like the gold capital of the east coast of Africa, Mombasa, even the mosques are all cast in gold. I mean, it was very cheap in 1983, super cheap. We'd be wealthy people if we had invested in gold.
Yeah, I think I think number 2 probably got all that gold, but that's another story.
Yeah. Anyway,
got another question that popped in.
Yeah.
From Hiram. Can you share how
Okay.
your work has been received by organizations like Masterpiece and PBS? Thank you for that question,
Right.
Hiram.
That's a great question. Thank you. It was received extremely well. They got back to me within a week and they said they absolutely loved it. However, asterisk, they have a huge British slate that they have to produce. And at the moment, that didn't have any British people in it. It does now. But also, you know, they've committed to partnering with, BBC and other British companies and international companies like Walter Presents, who does international shows with different languages with English subtitles. So they took a pass, but I think the quality is there. It's just I've got to find the right production company. That's all.
Okay, all right. And Bob popped right in here, and he says you shared earlier about getting caught up in the ivory trade. What major lesson did you learn, and would you write a story? And would you write a story about that journey?
I think I've already done that. Yeah. So there's, I would write a story. It's called Caught on the Equator. It came out in 2013. And then this year I wrote the movie. There really wasn't any lesson to learn except that third world countries are extremely corrupt. Obviously ivory drives corruption, and so does, the money that can be had from it. I was only 19 at the time, so obviously going back, I would just be extremely wary of anybody selling me anything. You know what I learned? I learned to love America about 1 million times more because we have personal rights here. There's no personal rights in Kenya.
No.
I could have been chucked in jail indefinitely and almost was.
Yes. So quick question. It becomes a movie. Who plays you?
Oh, I don't know. It won't be me because I'm old now. I have no idea. I have to get, I have to get the producer first. I've learned enough that, without the money, you've got to get the producer because you can't go to actors directly. They won't. I've tried. They won't talk to you. So, no, it's a whole process, and it's fraught with troubles.
Oh, you can't walk in with a coffee. Say, hey, I brought you coffee and this script. You can't just do it.
No, I've hired expensive attorney. No, here's the thing. Okay, here's something I can share that I know for sure could help disassemble some of the mystery. It's legally you can't approach anybody that you don't know in Hollywood because they need to know where the story's coming from legally, so they don't steal it by accident. It has to be an attorney, an agent, or a close friend, or somebody they're dealing with already. This is the problem. It's an invisible force. So I've hired expensive attorneys to try to get to Tom Hanks for Once a Colonel and other things. Did it get opened? Absolutely not. It went right in the trash because there's no way you can just reach out to a Netflix, an Amazon, or anybody without a warm introduction.
Okay.
And sometimes that doesn't even work because they either have their own slate, they have their own things they want to, produce, and they've already got their own stuff in the works. I'll give you a great example. While I was at the AFM in November, both historical advisors on Masters of the Air read my script Once a Colonel. Both thought it was excellent. Can they help me get it to where it needs to go? Absolutely not. No, because the producers they know are not accepting scripts right now. And Tom Hanks, they don't have that kind of power.
And, you figure that they would come up with something new because, here lately, everything has just been
I know.
remakes of old movies or I don't know how many whatever that movie is
Like-
with the cars going fast and the people stealing everything.
That's
with,
Furious.
Fast and Furious. I don't know how many of that. What are they on? Like 100 now? But
Yeah.
you know,
I know,
come up with
I
something.
know.
Come on, you've got original
Come on, I
ideas.
know.
Come on.
Well, this is the thing, and the only other way to do it is what I've done partially is crack in with winning a contest. That's one way. I'm kind of thinking this book, if the book does well, it could be a crack.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, it could.
Mhm.
Well, we're going to push it.
What we got to
as
do
much
is
as
get
we
the
can.
right people to read the book, not just shut it to
Yes.
the right people
Well,
need to read it.
And really, here's what's required for the scripts. And because I really do think Tom Hanks for Once a Colonel is the guy, because it's a huge budget film. He would love it because he loves the whole Japanese POW thing. But, you know, all that has to happen, I say all, quotation marks, has to happen is somebody who's got the power. All they have to do is read 15 minutes of Once a Colonel, and they'll know enough to pass it on. That's it.
Maybe I'll just send him an unsolicited copy of it. Merry
But
Christmas,
it'll go in
Tom.
the trash because he doesn't know where it's coming from.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to say, "Where did this come from?" I'm sorry.
Oh wait, no, everybody knows Jake. That's a Jake.
Oh, is that right?
Everybody knows
Oh,
Jake.
okay, well, that's
Yeah.
different.
No.
Okay.
Let's hope everybody don't know me.
No, it's a real conundrum, and trying to get people to recommend you, it's almost because there's so much money involved that people are like, we want your work, but we don't want you.
Yeah, I understand that.
And you hear that a lot when people have screenplays and stuff like that. And they want your
Well,
work, but
exactly.
they don't want you. Yeah.
They don't really want you slicing up the pie. You know what I mean? Like that's.
Yeah, you know, if you come into the equation, that's a percentage I don't get.
Well, I get a certain amount of, it's not just that, but, you know, I've got 4 excellent projects and, you know, not everyone is coming up with, as you pointed out, Jake, a lot of this stuff is very low. It's all like Bambi Goes to Hollywood again. Like it's kind of low concept. There's not a lot of brain work that goes into some of this stuff. It's not the deep research I do. And so, you know, not everybody's into that.
I understand. I don't know. It's just, I don't understand how things work out there. I just thought, you know, somebody said, "Hey, here's a good script.
Nope, it's not that easy."
Yeah.
Well, if it was that easy, the problem is, and they were at one time, not in the last 10 years, but 20 years ago, barraged with people trying to get into Hollywood with the scripts. And the truth of it is, and I know this from a friend of mine in Switzerland who does movie scores, 90% of it is garbage, which is why they had to close the gates, because it's terrible stuff. I understand why they can't read it all. It's awful.
Oh yeah,
Which is why you're getting a Spaceballs too, and they're redoing all these.
Well, it's why they've closed the. It's why they've closed the gates. Is what I'm saying. Like if Hollywood's the castle, they've closed the gates because they can't handle the amount of unsolicited work.
Yes. I got another question here
Okay.
from Megalodonna. What advice do you have for aspiring storytellers looking to turn personal or family history into creative work?
Great question. So I would say this is a couple of tiers answer here. One is you have to know your craft. Okay. There's so many people that come to me with books that are already published. Have they studied writing or storycraft or anything? Nope. And I've had to tell generals that their work is terrible. Okay. So you have to do your due diligence. You have to learn storycraft. You have to learn the 6 landmarks that come with every like TV episode, if you're doing that, or character arcs and what a good story looks like. There's a book out there by Robert McKee called Story, and it's still the Bible in Hollywood to learn story. Secondly, you know, obviously you got to do your research, go to newspapers.com, see if there is a story. Because a lot of people have these scattered facts and they think, oh, this could be something. Well, not really. You got to put it on paper to make sure there's enough material there to get you from, the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's weird. I'm an artist, as you know, and most people would say, oh, I can't paint at all. But on the other hand, most people think they can write. Most people think they can write, but it's still the same kind of, I put in 30,000 hours as an artist and probably 15,000 as a writer. There is definitely a method to the madness, as in everything from Olympics all the way down to whatever. There's hours and hours and hours behind every gold medalist. And it's the same thing with writing.
Yeah, you got to put your time in, practice.
Yeah, you got to do all the things. You got to do all the things. You can't just wake up one day and say, which people do, as we know, and I'm not discouraging that, but you've got to do your due diligence. I want to write a book. Okay, well then start writing every day.
Yeah, and I don't write. But I think a lot of writers are also, they read a lot. And I think reading will help you write. It'll help you learn how to form sentences, paragraphs, and all that.
Reading good stuff will.
Well, yeah, reading good stuff.
Yeah.
You have to
reading good stuff will.
All right, Stephen, I'm going to let you answer this next question.
Okay. Hammy T wants to know when Jake and I will both be on a show in the same place. Side note, I would come to see that. Next time, I guess I'm in Tennessee. I'm guessing we can go to Studio 3 and
we can go to
sit there and do the show together in the same room.
Yes, we can.
I'm not sure if visitors are welcome there, but Studio 3 could have the boss and the two of us in the same room all at the same time.
Cool. That would be critical mass there. That would be
unless I go to your job and we sit in the office and do a show around the table.
Well, we couldn't this week because we didn't have any internet. So
right.
More thunderstorms.
Yes. Heather, this hour has flew by.
Is that right? Already?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yes, it has. And hey, I want to, while we're wrapping up here, I want to encourage everybody to go. We've got the websites posted and all of Heather's books are here. It's got them listed, and starting with The Long Blue Shadow, and then it's got The Colonel's Way. It's got Caught on the Equator, Once a Colonel, The Pen, the Pearl, and the Paragraph. It's got all these books on there, and I just get on there, get these books. Like I said, I've already added them to my wish list to get approved by Mrs. Holland, and as soon as she approves them, I will be ordering them. So
you also can get them from Amazon, Kindle, and soon Google Play. So yeah, it's all coming.
All right. Well, you mentioned Kindle. I've got one. My wife bought me one because I travel a lot, and I cannot get into that.
Yeah, I don't.
I have to turn a page.
I do. No, can't look at another screen for one more minute at the end of the day.
No kidding. No kidding.
Can't do it. I can't do it.
Well, we've got something that we ask all of our guests, so don't think you're special here.
Okay. Oh, no problem.
But you've been building her up for an hour. Now you're saying she's not special. It's screwed up.
Taking it all back. It's fine.
What are 3 things that are non-negotiable for you every day that you have to do to make your day complete?
It's an excellent question. Well, we already talked about the first one. Got to get up early, 5:30. Got to write my journal and got to write my other stuff. Whatever I'm working on at the moment. That has to happen first. Pay yourself first. And I am, since I became a personal trainer late in life, I've still got to do some kind of physical something. So I've been sprinting since I've been 55. So I'm 61 now. And I've become quite good at sprinting. So I've got to run every day just for a short time and lift a weight or two, something. I got to do something. And I got to talk to one of my kids.
Okay. All right. So
that's always good.
get up early, get
Yeah.
exercise,
Mhm.
and talk with family, talk with your kids. That's 3 things that, that's good advice. That is good advice.
Very good.
Well, Misfit Nation, it has been a wonderful evening, and want to remind you out there, we love each and every one of you. Tomorrow would not be good if you were not in it, and we encourage you, if you're feeling the darkness, if you are feeling like there is no tomorrow, that you don't want to be in tomorrow, pick up that phone, dial 988, take option 1 if you're a veteran, and talk to somebody, because tomorrow, the world is a much better place with you in it. And we love each and every one of you. We thank you for tuning in and coming in tonight. If you're enjoying a recorded broadcast of this, thank you for checking us out. And that's
Don't
all
forget to
I've
check
got.
us out on the REITs across America on iHeart on Mondays at 3 p.m. Eastern.
All right. Well, ToosDay Crue.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you,
great night.
Heather. It has been
Thanks.
wonderful.
Thank you, Heather.
for being on here.
Thank you guys very much.
Had a
It was great
great
talking with
time
you.
this evening, and yeah, your family story is amazing.
Thank
Yes.
you.
That was really
Thanks.
amazing.
Thank
Well-
you. Well, thank you guys. Great seeing you.
Good seeing you,
All right.
Misfit Nation. We love you. Peace.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.